Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Smut Up and Listen. We are lucky enough today to be joined by #1 New York Times bestseller and US Today bestselling author and romantasy heavy hitter, Carissa Broadbent. Thank you for being here with us
Woo!
today.
Woohoo! Oh,
Woo!
thank you so much for having me. Also, thank you for pumping up my ego with that introduction there because I was listening to those things and I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, that sounds like a real author.
You
Not me.
are! I even
That's you,
Googled
girl.
I
Oh,
Googled
thank
top
you.
romantasy authors. Boom. Carissa Broadbent right there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you got
Well,
SJM, you got Rebecca Yaros, you got Carissa Broadbent.
wow. Thank
That's
you. Thank
you.
you for stroking my ego. I've been feeling a little low like the last week, so thank you.
No, you are amazing.
Yes.
I even told my dad, we're having like a real big author on the podcast tomorrow. You're not going to believe it.
I know. I've been telling everyone as well.
Yeah.
Oh my
My husband
gosh,
and I
what
go
an
to
honor.
Target and we see the new covers. They're all on the end caps. And I'm like, ah, my friend Carissa sent me those in the mail. So,
You know what? That's like what I do still. Like when I see any of, like if I know the author of any book that I see out in public, I'm like, my friend wrote that. And sometimes it's like just like somebody who followed me back on Instagram, like someone I've never spoken to. And my husband's like, yeah, okay, sure. You know that. I'm like,
oh,
no,
okay.
we're friends. We're friends. No, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
she replied to me one time, on Twitter or something. But no,
That is the
I
beginning of a
love it.
beautiful friendship.
I
Yeah.
agree. I mean, we're colleagues, right?
Yeah.
So I say it totally
Exactly.
counts. And I say we are having an actual conversation at this point. So I would say that you totally have my permission to refer to me as quote unquote your friend Carissa forever henceforth from now. So
Woo!
Yes. Well, I'll tell everyone. We're putting
Yeah,
it
I'm
in
just
our
gonna,
bio.
yeah, I'm gonna
yeah,
add that to my
yes,
back pocket.
you can totally do that. Yes, just add that to like your list of personal descriptors.
Yes, we will. And so obviously we've been huge fans for years now, and we feel so fortunate to have you on our podcast. When we say that we are fans, we are huge fans. You are one of my like top read authors. I looked it up
Same.
on my book tracking apps. You are right there.
Oh, thank you. That's why I have a career. So thank you for doing that.
So, you were obviously kind enough to send each of us copies of the latest editions of the War of Lost Heart series with the gorgeous new covers. And what was the process creating the new covers like?
Oh my gosh. I was so excited to be able to do this. I also had like complete creative control over the covers because for anyone who isn't aware, who is listening, I was originally self-published. And now all of my existing books in print, at least, are with my publisher, Bramble. But the trilogy, like when I started this idea of it's been 5 years, like I have a lot of new readers who like had not read the trilogy, which I published before my Crowns of Nyaxia series, which is the one that went book talk viral. I'm doing like scare quotes to anyone who's like listening to me. Um, so I was thinking, it might be time to I love the original cover art too. But it might, trends have changed and everything. A lot of people thought it was young adult with the original cover art. And I thought it might be time to like give them some new covers. And originally I planned on doing it indie. Like I did not I was going to just they were going to remain self-published. And I was kind of like I am a huge fan of artists. I went to school for graphic design. I'm like not very good anymore. I used to be good. Once upon a time, I was a pretty good artist, but I have just an immense admiration for artists and like the skill that goes into their craft. And I thought to myself, I have the benefit of having a lot of name recognition now. And that means that I have kind of more freedom to do something that might be a little bit different, like to really work with an artist that I'm really in love with and feel passionate about. And I reached out to one of my favorite artists of all time, Arthur Wang, who does the True Black Tarot decks, because I have both of his tarot decks and I have them on my desk. Unfortunately, I don't have them beside me right now, fittingly, but I have
Give it
them
a
on my
goog.
desk and I would like, pull cards to just, I don't know anything about tarot, but I would just like look at the art and be like, wow, like what would this goddess be like? Like it just gives me inspiration to like look at this beautiful artwork. And I reached out to him completely expecting him to say no. And he did not. So it was
Oh,
really a dream to
cool.
get to work with him. And we got to work on those together over the course of like a year, basically. And then I got my publisher involved and I kind of got to be like, here you go, it's all done. Like, here is everything. And they were kind enough to oblige me. So it was a really,
Yeah.
really great experience.
That's
That is so
awesome.
cool.
Can we expect anything like that with the Crown of Nyaxia series?
I don't, I mean, never say never. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. I feel really fortunate to have been able to work with so many incredible artists. Like I say this all the time on social media, and I think it probably sounds like I'm just like talking, but like truly, genuinely, my favorite part of this job is the fact that I've gotten to work with so many incredible artists. And I was just thinking last night actually about how many special editions have been made of my books and how many incredibly talented people have contributed to those editions. Um, it is like surreal. It's really surreal.
Yeah, that's so
So
cool.
cool. They're gorgeous covers. They're so beautiful.
They really are. They're so pretty.
Well,
Oh,
and
I have
even
them
when
in
you
my
take
living room.
the dust jacket
woo!
off, the actual like binding of the book is beautiful.
Yes, they're
Yes.
beautiful.
I'm glad we got to keep those because those are actually they're a little bit tweaked, but they are the same designs under the jacket that were in the original indie covers. And they were done by like my best friend's sister. Like it was like, like because we did these back in like 2020, when these books first
Yeah.
came out years ago now. So it feels also special to have like that piece of like the original history of the book like still in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I bet it's cool for your sister's friend too, that she could be like,
I hope so. Her name is
yeah.
Emily Jolivet. She's very talented. She's a really talented
Oh,
artist.
so cool.
They're so pretty.
Our next kind of set of group questions are the writing process and the journey of the books. And one of my questions is, what is one writing habit that changed your career completely?
Ooh, that's a great question. There are a few. So I have sometimes a hard time focusing, like many people.
Oh, I feel
And
that.
I realized pretty early on that like I my personality kind of resists routine sometimes, but the fact that I resist routine means that I like desperately need routine in order to be productive. So when I first began writing, I had a day job and I had a very demanding day job. So the first thing that I realized was that I have to come up with a routine that works for me, pretty much every day, and it has to work for like the version of me that actually exists, not like the imaginary version of me that will theoretically exist tomorrow, like the version of me
Oh,
that's going to work out every
that's
day. And
such a
like,
good point.
yeah, yeah. Because for a long time, I was planning for that version of Carissa, like this imaginary
Yeah.
version who was going to like put in time before work and after work and like do it, at 9 o'clock at night, like before I go to bed. Like, no,
Yeah.
me, it's not going to happen. Like that, she's not going to do it. So, what I realized was in the case of my day job, I had what would work best for me, as crazy as it sounds, was waking up at 4:30 in the morning and having writing time like from 6 a.m. Like I would go to like the coffee shop and I would write from like 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then like go to the office after that
Okay.
because I realized I worked with a lot of people on the West Coast and like across time zones. So like my work days would bleed, to like six,
hmm
7, 8 o'clock. And it was just not working. So that was very important for me. And it's still important. It was important even when I quit my day job. I had a very rigid work day and I very rarely worked on weekends unless I was like in a real crunch zone.
hmm
And I'm glad I kept up that system because now I have a toddler and I am currently pregnant with my next one. And that's why I'm a
Congratulations.
little, thank you. That's why I'm a little out of breath. I've
Congratulations.
been getting out of breath lately. Um, and it has gotten more important, because my workday is shorter. But I've realized like you can do so much with a 5-hour workday, like if you're very, very, very focused. So I have to be like ruthlessly focused with myself. So that was one thing that was a real game changer for me. And then the other thing was I exclusively write on distraction-free writing devices. Like
Okay.
I
I've
have like
seen
a
you post
collection of
about
them.
this on Instagram.
I'm very nerdy about this. This is like, I won't even pretend that it's all like productivity. Like, it's also like my hobby, like I just collect them. So
What is
basically,
it? Yeah, tell me.
yeah, okay, here, oh, I have a spiel. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
There's a subreddit called Writer Decks. That was my first time where I realized there's like a term for these things. And basically, it's like any device that just write, like that it does one thing and that one thing is writing. Like usually they have really small screens, so it's like you can only see a few lines of text, so you're not like going back. Like it's designed for someone who wants to like I do not go backwards when I draft, you know?
Okay.
Like I will even
Yeah.
like sometimes in a first draft leave notes to myself being like, uh, go back and add sword to this scene. Like if I'm halfway through an action scene and I'm like, oh, actually she needs her sword, like instead of going back and doing it, like I'll just throw in a note. So the one that I've written most of my books on is called An Alpha Smart Neo. And some of you, if you are my age, I'm 33, so prime millennial age. We Some of you might remember them from school, from like elementary school. They're like they almost look like a calculator. They're like these plastic devices that have like a keyboard and like a little screen, and you just like type on them. And they're ancient. You get them on like
Oh.
eBay, but they're amazing. So I've written a bunch of books on that. There's like Free Write is a company that makes them. I have mixed feelings about Free
Ooh.
Write, but we won't get into that here. But yeah, there's like a whole class of devices. And that was a game changer for me. Like I cannot draft on a laptop.
That is so cool. I didn't even know those existed.
It's like a
It's a
brick
very niche audience. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
your writing. That's so cool. I would need that
Yeah.
if I were to
Yeah,
write because my attention span is pew pew pew.
Yeah,
exactly.
I can
Yes.
barely read.
Yeah, I have to like when I'm really in drafting mode, like I almost exclusively write in coffee shops. I don't write at home and I don't bring my laptop, so like I can't even, like if there's an
Yeah.
emergency, someone will call me. But like I'm not even wasting time on email. And like sometimes I backslide on this, but when I do, I notice because I get way less productive.
Yeah.
Ah,
Oh,
I
that's so
love the
cool though.
self-control.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah.
It's is it self-control or is it just like it's actually lack of self-control, right? It's like treating myself like a toddler because
Yeah.
You're
You just know
because that's what
trolling
I
yourself.
am.
yourself into having self-control.
We like self-aware
Exactly.
queens, Carissa.
I
Self-aware
am
queens.
self-aware. Like I said, the version of Carissa who exists today cannot handle having internet access on the computer that she's drafting on. Like that
There
is
you
who
Yes.
go.
I am.
You'll wind up like on Facebook or TikTok.
Yeah, no, it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah. And let's see. Has being an author changed your relationship with reading, and do you find yourself more critical of books as you're reading them?
Ooh, you guys are bangers. This is another good question.
Yeah.
So the answer, like, absolutely yes. It changes your relationship with reading dramatically. And I have not met a single author who has not said this. It has changed. I'm not more critical of other books. I'm more critical of myself. Like, I
Hmm.
cannot read romantasy books or even like often fantasy books unless it's like very different from what I write while I'm
Okay.
drafting or kind of in certain phases of editing. Like it depends on kind of where I'm at in the process because I'll read it and be like, oh my God, like this is so good. Like I'll never write anything good. I'm never, because you spend so much as an author. And again, I think most authors feel this way. Um, you, yeah, I
My
can hear
thing cut
you.
out.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, no.
You can't hear us?
There we go. I'm sorry, the audio just went away.
Oh,
Now
you're
you're
No
fine.
back.
problem.
Continue.
Okay. Where was I? I think I've talked to a lot of authors who feel this way. Through most of the writing process, we like hate ourselves and hate our books and are like, oh my God, I'll never write anything good ever again. And then my husband goes, you always say that. And then I say, no, but this time it's true. It's different this time. I mean
Yeah.
it. It's true this time. So a lot of times I can't read romantasy when I'm going through like that because
hmm
it just like makes me feel bad, you know? But also it can really inspire me. So sometimes you have to like make yourself read it. But I find I read a lot more outside of my genre now, which I don't think is a bad thing because I enjoy reading virtually all genres.
hmm
And I feel like there's always something to learn. You know, you learn pacing from thrillers and like you can learn, you know, dialogue from contemporary romances and you can learn like tension from like whodunits and stuff. Like there's always
Yeah.
something to learn.
I would have thought it
Oh,
would have been opposite. I thought you would have read Romantasy and been like, oh, that's not how I would have done it. It's all wrong.
yeah.
Because in our heads, you're like amazing. Your books are amazing. So I was thinking you would read it and be like, ugh, trash.
And I am saying that, but like to myself. Like,
No, I never would have thought that.
I am honored by that. I no, I think that we if there's an author out there who has like that degree of self-confidence, like number one, almost certainly a man, like for sure a dude.
Amen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not me.
So, are there any different plots in the Crown of Nyaxia or the War of Lost Heart series that you were initially going to go with before you changed it to what is published currently?
There is one that sticks out to me. So the War of Lost Hearts trilogy I wrote before the Crowns of Nyaxia series. And it was Daughter of No Worlds was not my first book. I wrote and I self-published 3 books before that, but they were not good. They were bad books. Like people, because Goodreads is like forever, like you can never remove anything from Goodreads. I get people asking me about them sometimes, and I'm like, oh, honey, you don't. You
You're like, please
just,
don't. Please don't.
yeah, you don't want to. And then my very first book, very, very, very first book, literally, I'm not exaggerating here. Like, I think like literally 19 copies were printed. You know, like that's the degree of like how many people have seen this book. And every once in a while, somebody will pop up on like my reader group and be like, look what I found. And I'll be like, how? Like, oh my gosh, crazy. But anyway, all this to say, so I'd written books before, but I had never completed a series. And The War of Lost Hearts was kind of a learning experience in that way for me because it was my first time. It's also a very epic, you know, it's really epic fantasy. So it's my first time dealing with a full, complete arc. And I was still kind of ironing out my own process for planning and like how I like to structure series. So there is one notable thing that had changed. I get questions about it all the time, and I am honest that it's just because of my imperfect brain. There is a character who shows up very briefly in Daughter of No Worlds, a very kind of a character named Miracel, who's like she's like a very kind of unusual like personality. And she was gonna have like a whole subplot, like there was gonna be like a whole plot there. And then I ended up having to cut it. Like it just didn't work anymore. Um, and I don't regret it because it was the right decision for the series, but I wish I had been able to tell her story a little bit more. I did put in Easter eggs like throughout the series so that if you're paying a
Oh.
lot of attention, you can figure it out. I've had a few people figure it out as to like what her backstory is and what her deal was. Um, but yeah, I kind of abandoned poor Miracel,
Oh.
and she had a really cool story. So I wish I'd been able to get it in there.
Oh, when I go back and do a reread, I'll have to pay extra close attention to that.
Yeah, pick out the eggs. What was your big I've made it moment when it clicked for you that you're an extremely successful published author?
Oh my gosh. You know, I still don't feel like I am one. Like when you said that, I'm like, oh, is that what I am? You know what's crazy
Yes.
is that, thank you. Thank you. You guys are stroking my ego today.
Yeah.
Um, what's kind of crazy is that still to this day, so I've had like so many incredible things happen in my career that I'm so grateful for. I mean, just the fact that like when you introduced me as the number one New York Times bestselling author, I was like, I mean, I think that might have been the first time I had heard someone introduce me like verbally out loud that way. And I was like, oh
Oh,
my God, I am. Like, that's crazy. So I've had all these big things happen, and yet it's still the things that happened early in my career that had like the greatest emotional impact on me. Like, I still remember to this day, it was right around the time when Children of Fallen Gods, the second War of Lost Hearts book, came out. And my audience was very, very small at that time. And it was like I had seen the first fan art that somebody had ever made of any of my characters. And it something I had not commissioned, just like art that they made because they loved the series. And I was like shaking. Like I was so
oh,
happy.
yeah.
Like I think that that's still I was probably happier and like more excited in that moment than I was when I hit number one on the New York Times bestseller list. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
and one of the few downsides of, well, it's not a downside, it's just an evolution, is that once you start doing things professionally and once things like the scale of everything goes up, your expectations for yourself change constantly. You're kind of on a constant treadmill. So
Hmm.
I really treasure a lot of those early moments. Like that fan art really sticks out to me. I can like see it perfectly in my
Yes,
mind's eye.
that's amazing.
Oh, yeah, I
Yes.
love that.
Everybody send Carissa fan art.
Yeah, do
I do.
it.
I love fan art, and there's so much of it. I'm like, there's
There
so much
is.
now that it's like I often miss it. I'm not on social media nearly as much as I used to be because it can get scary out there. So sometimes I miss it. Like sometimes I don't see it, and that makes me sad. But it's just incredible. It's incredible to see.
I know people's imaginations are wild.
I know. Even we've
People
had
are
fan
just
art.
so
We'll send it in the
talented.
group chat. And we're like, oh my
Yeah.
God. It's so fun
Oh,
to
that's
see.
amazing. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, if you had a time machine and you were able to go back in time to give your pre-published self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Ooh, okay. I've thought about this one actually. So I know I probably sound like I'm like bullshitting when I say this, but I don't have a lot of like regrets in general because my philosophy is like, you know, everything is part of the road that got us to here, right? So I
Hmm.
wouldn't go back in
Yeah.
time and like butterfly effect anything that would like fuck that up. I'm not going to
Yeah.
mess with
Right.
that. Um, so there are very few things. Like there were definitely things that I did that were like not effective, business wise. Like I said, I wrote three entire books, actually four, because there was one that was never published at all, um, that are now not available, like, but I needed to
Hmm.
write them to become the author that I am today. So I have no regrets there. Um, but one big thing is I never thought I would be notable as a public figure. And as a result, like early in my career, I was not as careful about like my privacy as I thought that as would be now because I thought it
Hmm.
wouldn't matter. Like I thought nobody would ever care to like try to find my, just try to find my phone number or something. Like it
Right.
was never an issue. So I do wish I had been more careful about privacy like earlier in my career. Um, and then other than that, the other thing was I put a lot of pressure on myself when I really didn't need to. Like now there's a very big machine behind me, like publishers and like there's just like a lot of factors that go into like a release date, or like into a deadline. But early in my career when I was indie, that was not really the case. And yet I still held myself to like wildly unreasonable deadlines, like very firmly. And it was just not worth it. Like I wish I
Yeah.
could tell my former self, like, just chill,
Chill.
like relax.
Yeah.
It's fine.
All right. Well, now we're going to get into your writing process, right?
No, book
Sorry, guys.
specific.
But yeah, you're right. Oh my gosh. Sorry, Chris. We're going to get into book specific questions. And can you briefly describe the War of Lost Hearts series to someone who hasn't read it?
Sure. So it is an epic fantasy trilogy with lots of romantic elements, like most of my books. And it follows a young woman named Tisana, who's a magic wielder, as she escapes slavery and she has to try to join this powerful organization of magic wielders. And in order to do that, she has to team up with this very, let's say, grumpy and reluctant wielder with a speckled past, as one has, named Max.
Mm-hmm.
And they get pulled into some really, oh gosh, how do I even put it? Some really dark shit. Some really dark shit. And a lot of like really sinister war machinations that
Mm-hmm.
explode across the continent.
Ah, wonderful.
We love a
AKA
morally
pure
gray
gold.
Yeah.
man. And my next question is very deep and serious, so we need to buckle up for it.
I'm ready.
Marry, fuck, kill.
Mhm.
Rain, Max, and Asar.
Ooh, I'll kill Rain. Um,
No.
okay. I'm gonna say something controversial. You guys want like something controversial for your clickbait from here on out?
Yes.
Rain is like easily, okay, I love all of my book children, right? So there's a baseline here of like general love, right? But Rain is like easily my least favorite MMC that I've ran, like
No.
easily. He's just of the ones that like I would want to be. Okay, I don't want to go to that pub. I don't want to go. I'm tired. I would like to stay home. And he's so, I don't know. Yeah, he's my least. I love him, but he, like, of the ranking, he is like the one I would definitely least want to be with myself.
Okay.
Asar's probably like the best in bed. So I'll fuck Asar. And I think I would marry Max. You know, he's such a good partner, and Asar is too. Like actually, Max and Asar are kind of similar types. But yeah, I think I would marry Max. He's a very, very good partner.
He's a good man.
He's a good man.
Oh,
Wonderful.
poor Rain.
Was he your guys' favorite?
I mean,
love
I
Rain.
do love Rain, but Max is like top tier.
Yeah.
Rain.
I love them
My
all.
yeah,
Yeah.
we
Well,
do
you
love
have
them
to.
all.
You created them.
Yeah, but that means I hate them sometimes too.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
My next question is actually about my favorite character in the series. Did you always know you wanted Rayshay to be a sentient entity after they left their body, or were they always going to stay in a body?
I'm thinking because I wrote this book in 2018, so I'm like, what was my plan? Like, I actually Reshe, the whole concept of Reshe was always that was one of the things that was always clear in my mind. There was a lot about the series that kind of evolved as I was writing it, but that entity, I did because I had kind of explored stories with like similar ideas, like actually when I was like 13, like when I was writing stories like a long time ago. And sometimes your 13-year-old self comes up with like some kind of interesting shit. So I was like,
Yeah.
I would like to re-explore this idea. So that aspect was always firm. And then there were aspects about like, are we doing spoilers? Are we being spoilery or no?
That's up to you.
I mean,
the
that's
series has been
yeah.
out. It's completed. We can spoil it.
Okay. So just like, I guess to anyone listening, major, major spoiler alert for like the second book in this trilogy. Definitely like Aoife's character and like the details of her backstory and even her fate, like where she ends up in the third book. A lot of that stuff kind of evolved as I was writing it, especially her fate, because I really struggled with that, like with it just there's a lot of morally gray characters in this series, and it intrigues me as a writer. I will always write lots of morally gray characters. Um, but sometimes you really wrestle with like fate, like who gets like some kind of a redemption, like who
Hmm.
doesn't. Sometimes people deserve it and don't get it, and vice versa. Like it was really challenging to figure out.
Yeah, they are easily, and I don't know if I've ever heard someone say that they're their favorite character, but they are so, like you said, complex. Their arc is super complex, very morally gray. You don't know where the fate of it is going to go, and it's just,
Oh,
Shit's
thank
kiss.
you.
And Shelby is hypercritical of books, so
She
I am,
is.
I
It is
am.
hard to get a 5 star from this girl.
hmm.
Well,
And all of these
I
books
am.
are 5 stars. Like they are, this series itself is one of my most favorite series of all time. So.
Oh my gosh, I'm honored by that. Thank you. Thank you.
So we are visual learners here. So do you have a fan cast if the series were to get turned into a TV show or a movie? Just anyone in your mind that would just be the dream fan cast.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I always wish I had some better answers here. When I'm writing, I imagine characters. I often describe it as like I almost imagine them as if they are animated characters, where it's like you see their features and like but like it's not like a person. Like I'm not like visualizing Charlize Theron or whoever. Like I don't know why that was the name that came to mind. So maybe I was. Um, but like if you look at an animated character, there are lots of actual humans who could like embody that character. And that's
Hmm.
often how I think of it. The one exception to that had been that I remember from the beginning when I was writing The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I really and people like are always shocked by this, which is funny to me because I feel like I it's really funny the reactions I get here. I really imagined Rain as like a Jason Momoa type. Like that was like
Oh.
very like sometimes people depict him as like pretty, and I'm like, no, like that's not he's like a burly guy, like not that Jason Momoa is not pretty. He's a very pretty man, but he's not like
Yeah.
a like an elven
He's like a
pretty.
man's man.
He's like a manly, burly pretty. Um, but The War of Lost Hearts has been out long enough now, and I've been asked this question a lot that I've had for Max. I started to envision Max as Daniel Henney, who he was in the Wheel of Time series. He was in Criminal Minds. He was in like a lot of K dramas as like the hot like love interest like 15 years ago.
Okay.
I had a big crush on him when I was in high school. I think he has sadly aged out of the role at this point. But more recently, I've had people say Manny Jacinto, which love Manny Jacinto, would happily cast Manny Jacinto as Max. And like very, very recently, I've had a lot of people say, I have yet to watch Heated Rivalry. I know that's like, I know,
I
I
haven't
know,
either. I haven't either. It's okay.
Oh,
I know, I
it's a
know.
slippery slope.
I know I need to. My assistant is like the queen of the Heated Rivalry like fandom. Like she's like a minor celebrity in the Heated Rivalry fandom because she makes wallpapers and stuff. So
Oh,
one day she's gonna like pin me down somewhere and like force me to watch
make you
it. But
watch
You
it.
should let her do that.
Yeah.
I know I should. I should. It's gonna happen. I'm having a brain fart though. The not the Russian one, the other
Hudson
one.
Williams.
Yes, and I actually
Ah,
could really just from
yes.
pictures because he's got like a good grumpy face, like he
Oh, he
has like a
does.
good kind of grumpy socially awkwardness about him.
Oh, and his
He's quite
PR,
handsome.
all of his interviews, hilarious. He seems so funny.
They both seem like really lovely guys. I'm very happy for them,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
hope that the weirdness of their fandom does not rip them apart as
Ugh,
people.
I
I
hope
know.
so.
People are so weird on the internet.
People are so fucking weird on the internet.
I got my husband
Yes.
to watch a few episodes. I was like, "Oh, do you want to watch this hockey drama with me?" And he was like, "I guess." And then like 5 minutes in, he was like, "Wait a minute. What is
Yeah.
this?" And I was like,
What a good way of describing that. That's like that reminds me of when I wanted to see this like anime movie. And I said to my friend who always comes to like art house movies with me, I was like, hey, do you want to come see this foreign Japanese film with me?
Hmm.
There you
So we
go.
have like, yeah, similar strategy here.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait a minute, you tricked me.
We got there and she was kind of like, okay.
Okay. You write open door romance as part of your job, so you're basically an expert. What is the most unhinged smut you've read?
Oh, this is an easy answer. I and I I have openly said at like literary festivals, been like, this is like the most memorable book that I read all year. And I am not ashamed. I stand behind it. Kiss of the Basilisk.
Oh
Ah,
yeah. I just finished the
wonderful.
second one.
Such a good one.
I have not read the second one, but I did an event. I read it because when I was on tour, I was fortunate enough to do an event with Lindsay Staub. She was my conversation partner. And it was like probably the most, like, she was just amazing. She's such a lovely person. And it was probably the most fun I've ever had at one of my events. Like, it was so much fun. And I was reading the book because I try to read at least a little bit of my conversation partner's books so that I have like some context. I was reading it on a plane. And I remember I got to like the first like freaking 5%.
Hmm.
And I was like texting my assistant. I was being like, we're like literally 5% into this book. And this man transformed his magical snake cum into like a remote vibrator. Like, I was
Yeah.
like, this is, she set out to do something and she did that thing. And I really admire that as a creator.
Ah, such a good one. I was gonna say, depending on what you said, we were gonna do an episode on it and be like, our friend Carissa recommends this book to everyone. But
We have
we've
covered
done
that one though.
Yeah.
You've already covered it.
Yeah.
It's a wild ride, right? I have to read the second one still. But I just had like, I always think, okay, side rant here, but like there are people on, well, I'm being a little biased here because a lot of people feel this way towards romantasy as a genre, right? Like there are people who are snobs, right? Who are like,
Hmm.
oh, that's not like, literary or whatever. Well, first of all, I will say I put a lot of effort into the literary and artistic value of what I do. I take immense pride in it, and I'm always trying to progress and do something different and creative artistically. But aside from that whole argument as to like what counts as quote unquote literary merit or whatever, I feel like any creator, the best thing that you can aspire to do is to leave an impression on someone and to do so in a way that's like intentional, like the impression that you set out to make up upon someone, like to create something that's memorable and interesting. And I think that that is like extremely valuable and like an extremely difficult skill to master. And I think Kiss of the Basilisk made such an impression on me because I felt like it did that, like it
Yeah.
was like you read it and you were clearly like, this was what Lindsay set out to create. And it was like a very memorable experience.
It was. If you ever
Yeah.
see her again, though, you tell her I read that second book and she owes me therapy. My heart's broken.
Oh, okay. I have to read it.
I'm
Yeah, she is
upset.
lovely. I would love to do an event with her again. She was so fun. We had so much fun together. It was one of those events where like everyone afterwards was like, how long have you guys been friends? And I'm like, I met her like 45 minutes ago. Like I just
Oh,
got
love that.
yeah, it was great. She's
I want to
lovely.
know what goes
Yes.
on inside that head because that book was unlike anything we've
It
ever
was
read
crazy.
before. It was
It's
insane.
crazy. And I love how in the indie version, because that was another book that was originally self-published. I think one it like sums up to me like so much about like her and how like hilarious she's as a person that like the blurb on the back was like a wild ride, Lindsay's mom. Like it
Oh
was just hysterical. She's so funny.
no. Lindsay must have a cool mom.
Yeah.
I've never met her, but she seems like a lovely lady.
What is the craziest moment you've had that you attribute to your successful career?
Well, I mean, one of them might have been talking about like Basilisk spot with Lindsay Staub. Let's see. Gosh, there's so many. I mean, and it just happens so fast. Like it was also a strange experience because Serpent, really blew up on TikTok in a very big way, like very quickly. And also, when that happened, I was like having a baby. So it was like I was a little bit like distracted. And then it's also like, it's kind of, it's on the internet, right? So it's like you're not seeing it like out in your day-to-day life, really. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you see numbers getting higher on a screen, but it's kind of like distant. And I remember when I had my first ever event, and I really felt, I mean, again, I was prepared to be an indie author for my whole career, and indie authors don't get books in bookstores typically, and don't do author events. And I was like totally resigned to that. Like I thought there are lots of indie authors who are making like mid six figures a year, and you don't even know like their names. Like they're not in
Wow.
bookstores. They're no, it's it's a real thing. So I was always like, I made my trade-off there, you know? So when I had my first event, it was really overwhelming and incredible. It was amazing because it was the first time I was kind of seeing it all in person.
Mm-hmm.
And then another big one was the first time I went to a Polycon, which was like my first book convention. And that was another moment where it was like, you know, you get to be like a niche celebrity for like 3 days.
Yes.
Um, Anytime you get to see it in person and meet readers in person, it is very surreal.
Yeah,
I
I
always thought
bet.
it was an interesting dynamic too for successful authors because in the book world, I feel like you're a pretty household name as far as the romantasy genre is, but then you can still go out in the world and be a normal person. I mean, I'm sure there's some super fans that would recognize your face and be like, "Oh, hey, Carissa." Like, has that happened before?
And it's happened a few times. Um, but I also think, I mean, I'm also recognizable. Like I have red hair, like long red hair.
Yeah.
Like people recognize me, especially like when I'm at a Polycon. It's like people recognize me because they know why they're there, you know?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
recognize the authors. Um, it happened like once or twice, but not frequently. I did have one time a really awkward experience where I was like I said, I write at coffee shop. So I was writing at my coffee shop and there was a girl, a woman who came in and she was reading Serpent. And I walked by her and I was kind of very awkwardly like, I wrote that book. And she was like, but I was like walking, like I just,
She's probably like, what'd she say?
and then she like flipped to the back and she was like, oh yeah, that's you.
I
That's
don't know what I
Carissa.
would do if that happened to me. If just casually the author walked by as I was reading her book. Her
Yeah,
book. All
I'd be
Oh,
all good authors.
dumbfounded.
well, imagine if she was like, oh, I don't like it. Like, you know, like imagine if you're reading it and you're
She's all
like,
take it
oh,
back.
yeah, I just can't get through this. So that was like, yeah. But yeah, I always say that I am like exactly the right amount of famous. And even this was a difficult adjustment. But it was mostly a difficult adjustment in terms of like the way I interact with social media now is very different than the way that I did 3 years ago. Like I've had to remove myself from social media. Like the first time you scroll Reddit or, you know, I've never been a TikTok user really, but like, and you get like a jump scare of like someone talking about your book and like maybe they don't like it, which is completely fine. Like, you know, they should be able to talk about not liking my book on Reddit or whatever. But I prefer not to see it. So it does mean that
Right.
like I can't interact with the internet the way that I used to. Um, but I always say I am very happy with my level of success and my level of fame. Like I think about authors who are more famous than me and had it happen faster, like Rebecca Yarros, who seems like a lovely person. But like her life was changed, you know, because
Hmm.
she got so famous, you know, like, and I'm like, I'm good right here.
Yeah.
It seems like just a really good balance where you still, obviously, you're successful, but you still get to be a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think I heard a story once of, you know, Rebecca, somebody, and she talked about this publicly. This is not me like, you know, spilling her secrets or whatever, but of people like when she would get off of planes, like people like following her, like waiting for her when
Oh,
she got off of planes, like figuring out which plane she was taking based on her like tour routes and stuff.
oh my
Like
That's
that's
goodness.
terrifying.
That's
Yeah.
terrifying. That's terrifying. And it's like 0.0001% of people who do it, but all it takes is for like one or two people to be that level of obsessed,
Mm-hmm.
um, to really like make your life different.
Yeah. And people take their books very seriously. For some
They
people, I'm
do.
sure books are very real for them. They're like, what
Yes.
happens next? Tell me immediately. When's the next book coming out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We like a nice normal level of enthusiasm, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know, poor Penn Cole. I see her like updating people on her very last book because they're like rioting in the streets that she's not done with it yet, but she has like a whole life going on where she can't finish it right now. And I just am like,
Oh.
the fact that she even has to give updates is so sad to me that people are that level of psychotic.
People can be cruel. I mean, and this is what I mean when I say that my relationship with social media has changed a lot. So I realized, I think everyone who is a public figure in any way on the internet today has a moment where they learn the hard way. Like, oh, if I'm talking to like my friends or people who know me, like the way that you interact with social media as like an individual person with in your personal life, everything that anyone sees, they are filtering through their perception of you as they know you, being like, oh, I already have a preconceived notion of Carissa and who she is, and I know her on a personal level. But when you're talking to 200,000 people, everyone's got something different that they are filtering that through. And you just can't say something in 180 characters that someone cannot misinterpret in a way that you don't intend or see in a way that you don't intend. Like you just have to interact differently, knowing that a lot of people who do not know you and do not have that context to filter what they're seeing from you, um, they just don't have it. So there's that aspect of it. And then there is also the aspect of, well, honestly, to be like totally blunt with you, when the new War of Lost Hearts covers were revealed, that was a big turning point moment for me with how I interact with social media, because that was the first time where I got kind of the experience that you're referencing that Penn had, where it's like people who claim to be fans of you or your books kind
Mm-hmm.
of being like cruel to you in the name of being fans of you and your books, which is like a
Yeah.
weird dichotomy. Like if someone's a hater and they're mean to me, it's kind of like, okay. But like it's a very weird experience for someone to claim, I love these books so much, so I'm going to like send you vomit emojis and like, harass the
Yeah.
artist. You know what I mean? Like
They
that's
Yeah,
feel
that's not
entitled
cool.
to it.
exactly. It's a very weird experience. It's a very weird experience. And it made me realize a big turning point for me was when I was like, the internet doesn't exist if you don't look at it. Like, this is
Yeah.
like such a small percentage of actual people. Like, there's no one coming up to me in the street and being like, how dare you change your covers? Like,
Yeah.
if you just don't look at it, it doesn't exist. There are probably people who are angry that my release date for Lion is a full year after the last Nyaxia book. But like, I don't know because I'm not looking at their comments. And if I don't see them, they don't exist to me.
Yeah. Good
And a
point.
year is nothing. I just
I
finished
Truly.
hear,
an unfinished series. I texted Shelby about it yesterday. I finished a series. I thought it was a duology, and then I got to the end, and the second book in the duology came out in 2024, and I found out that the next one, because she got published, so congratulations, but 2027. A year is nothing. I could wait a year. Now I have to wait 2 years.
it happens.
Yeah.
And it's very common with like the pickups too, because it's like they need to, it also takes, like when a book is done, like The Lion and the Deathless Dark, which is coming out in August, it is now February, right? Like that book is like done, done, done. Like we are just like finishing touches on the proofreading pass. It takes like 7 months just to like print the stupid thing and like get it where it needs to go, in
Hmm.
traditional publishing. So there's just like that switch over from indie to trad I mean, I think the gap from Ashes to Songbird ended up being like 18 months when all was said and done, because it was like it's probably the same thing happening with the series you're reading, Charlotte, where it was like they have to put out the first books and that takes like 6 months each. And then it's like you have to get through the next one. So, yeah, there's a lot of cogs.
I know. And it's stuff that people don't even think about either. I was trying to explain it to my husband because I fully crashed out yesterday. I was like, I'm not going to know what happens until 2027. And I was trying to explain to him, like, we don't know what happens in the publishing world. There's so much stuff that has to go into it because she's not just publishing it herself. She has to go through all of these different hoops now. And so
it's
try to
very
be
different.
patient.
I mean, in indie, it's like you press a button and 48 hours later, like the book is out there. Like The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King was, in hindsight, not a great writing experience because I was pregnant. And that meant, like, that's the mother of all deadlines there. I was having like an actual human baby, right? So it was like I had to be done. And there's no wiggle room. You know, it's not like you can mess with, you know, the printing timeline or anything. Like, you just got to be done. So you go from like a system where it's like most indie authors, for the most part, are finishing, like they put the finishing touches on the book, they do their proofreading, and then like the book is out, you know, a couple of weeks later. Like that's often how it ends up being. And I'll be honest, sometimes it was a couple of days later for me. Like there are books that like I finished the proofreading task and like the deadline to upload was 2 hours from now, you know, it's very different. Yeah, stressful. It was stressful.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
No.
Yeah, I'm laughing a little bit manically, just being like, it was stressful.
It's fine. It's fine. My next question is, what would be your desert island book?
Ooh. That's a great question. My favorite book of all time is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller.
So
So
good.
probably that, or Circe. They're kind of tied for me. I love both of them. She's just such an incredible writer. If I ever met her, I would cry. I would die. I would do both of those things at the same
Just cry
time.
and die.
Okay, internet,
Just
link
cry
the
and
two
die.
together. Link Carissa and Madeline. Let's get them together for coffee date.
Yeah.
I would just die. I would die.
Well, don't do that.
I would spiritually die.
There you go.
All right. And this next question actually comes from, her name is Jenna. She's also on this podcast with us. She just couldn't be here today. But this question comes from Jenna. So Dylan Efron pulled inspiration from Crowns of Nyaxia and his Viennese. I don't know how to say
She
that
spelled
word.
it wrong, Vietnamese.
Viennese waltz.
Oh.
Oh,
You're
it
correct.
Vietnamese? I don't watch
Okay.
Dancing with the Stars, so I don't know.
She's a Dancing with the Stars queen. She could tell you about every single person on that show. Okay, I'm going to restart that then so I don't sound like a silly goof. Dylan Efron pulled inspiration from Crowns of Nyaxia and his Vietnamese waltz on Dancing with the Stars Halloween night, and we saw on your social media that you were gagged. What did you think about it, and how did it make you feel knowing he was a big fan of the series, and do you now have a connection to Zach?
I'm sorry to do this to you. You were correct the first time. It's Viennese, like Vienna,
Oh my God.
Italy, not Vietnam.
Oh my God. I'm such a dummy.
The Italians are going to
Okay.
cancel you.
Yeah.
I know. And
I thought
the
Charlotte said
Vietnamese.
Vietnamese. Sorry.
I thought it was.
No.
I don't watch Dancing with the Stars. I don't know.
Oh, that's true. I don't
Viennese,
either.
Viennese. Yeah.
Viennese.
But to be fair,
Okay.
the only reason I know is because that was the only time I have ever watched Dancing with the Stars. I was like blown away by that. Actually, I was thinking of that after the fact, after I answered one of your questions. That was like, what was something that left you like that was one that was like surreal to me. That was unbelievable to me. And also it was a huge it was very flattering because he picked like a deep cut. Like he was inspired by Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, which is like not my most popular book. You know, it's one of my personal favorites. So yeah. I mean, he blended like two of my it wasn't just like Rain and Araya, who is like my most popular book. So I was like, oh my God, like Dylan Efron. Like I was just blown away by that. It really totally made my week.
I would reach out and be
That's so
like,
cool.
Let me
What's
meet up
Zach
with Zach.
doing?
Yeah, what's Zach up to?
Okay, but
I
Dylan's
was
pretty cool
like,
too. Dylan and Zach, what are you both doing? You want to come hang out?
I mean, I would say that Dylan is my favorite brother. I mean, just
Yeah. At
unbiased.
this
I would say
point, you
Dylan
have
is
to
my
say,
favorite.
yeah.
Unless Zach wants to, come tell me how much he loves my books, and then maybe he could be the favorite brother.
There
Yeah,
you
come
They
go.
could
perform for
compete.
Carissa. And you know he
They
can.
could.
He was in High School Musical.
I know. I know. Can you imagine a musical version of one of
I
my
would
books?
watch
That
it.
would be so funny. I
I
would.
would watch the heck out
I'm
of
a
that.
musical theater girl. Yeah, I would love it.
Oh, there's an
I
On
found
answer.
out my 4-year-old is into musical theater. So she wanted to watch SpongeBob. I pulled SpongeBob up on Amazon and then she saw the live with Ethan Slater and she's like, I want to watch that one. She sat and watched the entire thing. And I was like, oh,
really?
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
I mean,
I was like, we don't like
he'll be
him.
making. Yeah, I know. He's a controversial personality right now. Yeah, but apparently a talented Broadway performer. So, hey,
Yeah.
A man.
a man, a man.
Are you working on anything new currently? And is there anything you'd like to shout out or promote before we say goodbye?
So I just wrapped up. I had a little bit of a delay with the final Crowns of Nyaxia. Right now, my project is the final Crowns of Nyaxia book, which is surreal. I mean, I can't believe that that is an 8 book long series, and I'm going to be wrapping it up. Which, by the way, will never write an 8 book long series ever again. Never. I don't know what I was thinking. Never, ever, ever again. So that's really surreal. I was a little delayed because through the first like 4 months of my pregnancy, I was like a mess. It was really bad. And then I also had to pause because I was working on a proposal to get together like ideas and a synopsis and stuff for my next series, which is also surreal to think about. So I'm very excited to be able to talk more about that at some point in the next 1 to 2 years. But yeah,
Yay.
currently working on the last Crowns of Nyaxia book.
It's
Um,
crazy that that's 8 books now.
Oh my
it is
goodness.
crazy. It's crazy. Like, to those of you who can't see me, there's a 1,000 yard stare happening right now. It's crazy. Never again. My next project will be no more than a trilogy ever again.
Mhm.
Fair.
There's nothing
Duologies.
wrong with a nice duology.
I love a duology.
Uh-huh. Maybe a nice standalone.
Yeah, that'd be even better. I think it's like a lot of skill to pull off a really good standalone.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to be able to do it.
You can do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you
Thank you for your
can.
faith. Thank you. Wow. I'll get off this call and be like, I can.
Yeah.
Google yourself. Google top romantasy authors.
I'm
You
not
are
gonna
right
do
there.
that.
I'm telling you.
I am not Googling myself. Are you kidding?
Just that. It's just the little AI clip at the top, and that's it.
Just read that blurb and be done.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
We'll just
Mhm.
grab all of the positive reviews and then email them to your publisher so she could pass them along.
Yeah.
There we go. Find like the
Yes.
nicest thing that anybody has ever said about me and be like, look at this and nothing else. Like,
There
just
you
this.
go.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I've never heard anyone say anything bad. So,
Neither have I.
Oh, wow. That's genuinely touching to me. Thank you.
so in our little bubble, you are just mwah, mwah, mwah.
That's great. That's great to hear. And that's the only bubble that counts to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We're going to
Yes.
change our bio to friend of Carissa Broadbent.
Yeah.
Yes, please do. It's sanctioned.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate
you
you
so
so much
much,
for coming
Krista.
on.
Yeah, I had so much fun. Thank you so much for having me. I hope that you all have a wonderful day today.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.